Hey everybody, Mike White here. How are you? Welcome to session 2. I was always happy to see the quality and the quantity of the homework that came on through, and so keep up the good work. I do want to just remind you that if you do have any questions or if you have anything that you need from me, it's always best to use the email michael@improvemytomorrowcoaching.com. Please understand that there are a couple of different programs. There are different people assigned to manage those programs. There's different emails that we use. I know it may be a little bit of confusion, but I just want to make sure that everybody knows how to reach me and get in touch with me without having to go through too much of a hassle. So just make a note. I know there's some materials out there that we put on the website that we hadn't fully modified yet, and we're in the process of working on them so that everything on the website leads to one email address so that there isn't confusing. But again, if you want to email me, it's michael@improvemytomorrowcoaching.com, and we'll go from there. So that's where that stands. So I do want to thank everybody for the homework. I know there was a lot of it to do. But really, if you took 15 to 20 minutes a day to get after it, it really was pretty simple. There wasn't a lot of complicated things to do. It just was a few minutes of focus to make sure that you were working on it. And understand that each session builds upon the others. And I know some of you had some questions or really would like to go ahead, or you had things that we're going to cover later on down the line. Then just understand that it is part of this process, so that we can give you information that you can use and implement right away. Some of it will make more sense to you down the road, but it is all buildable. And we don't want to give you, and it is impossible to take all 10 sessions and give them to you at one time. We used to do that, and it was a 2.5-day seminar. We went to this format because a lot of people felt that midway through a 2.5-day training, they had a little bit of brain jello. It was a little hard to take in, sort of like trying to take a sip of water from a fire hose. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to lay this out in a way that you will find easily enough digested so that we can go through this. The thing right here is that I wanted to get through is the fact that I'm not going to put a survey up here because it is a small group, but I just wanted you to know that take a look at this, and I'm pretty sure that we all know the numbers is, how much of the homework did you actually get to complete? There were 18 tasks that were assigned to you, and I try to give this rating to see where people kind of fell in. You should keep this to your, you should know for yourself, how much did I do, how well did I do what I thought I was going to do? And if you answer, look at this at the bottom, whereas, E, like you didn't know that there was homework to do, and that needed to be turned in, then I guess there's even a bigger issue. There is homework at the end of every session, and there, I do expect that you'll complete it and email it to us here so that we can review it, because it's not so much for me as it is for you. If you're not actually putting the steps in place, you're not building your book of business. Every one of these things that I ask you to turn into me, you should be taking, and you should be, you should have a 3-ring binder with some clear plastic page protectors. Everything that you do should be slid into one of those page protectors, and you should be able to keep and build this book of business, because at the end of the 10th session and the 10 homework assignments, you're going to have a working, functioning plan on how to do 60 to 120 or more units a year. And that is a really important thing. I'm just checking some numbers from last year, and this year, as it turns out, my average loan officer who has followed the program has closed in excess of 10 units a month. That's a pretty powerful thing to be doing, and it happens because you do the work and you're working on purpose. So just in mind, if we're not doing 100% of the work, you can't expect to get 100% of the outcome. And so how much you're committed to this process and how much you do is going to be how you benefit. So one of the things that we're going to go through, and we've done this a little bit when we were together, but I'll go through it again now, is, again, quickly, you should have these numbers, know them well. We all have an annual income goal. We all know what our average commission either is or what it should be. And each of you should just make sure that this is in the front of your mind, because without knowing that your income is divisible by your commissions, which will tell you how many transactions you need to have. And we've been through this at length, and I tried to break it down, and you should have all these answers based upon the time that we were together. You can plug these in. How many people do you talk to before you get a pre-qualification or pre-approval? How many of these people become applications? What percentage of your applications close? How many of your contacts does it take to get to one closing? Then we go on to work on how many days are we going to work this year, how many contacts we're going to need in the year, and we're going to divide that by the number of days so we know how many contacts we need each day. It is really, really imperative that you keep in mind and focused on the fact that you can't control the number of loans you close every day. You can only control the actions and the activities that you take and the things that you do to either to contact people and as a result generate a credit pull, because that's where it all starts. The first thing that we ever do is get in front of people and talk to them so that the result is we get to pull credit and see if there's something we can do to help them. The average loan officer will live a very nice life pulling 5 to 10 credit reports a week. If you can keep that as a focus, then you will understand very quickly that there is a really good life to be had very simply by following and executing a plan. What we're designed here and what we're going to do and what I'm going to show you and share with you is exactly how you do it step by step. How and what you do so that you can be making these contacts that will lead you to the number of loans that you need to make. Okay? That is a really big deal, and that's why we're doing this, and that's why, again, the homework becomes so important so that we're paying attention, because we need to show you the path, the things that people are doing to generate the numbers that they're generating. First, it all starts out with 100% of the truth 100% of the time. You know, the mortgage business, I've been around since 1984, and I started coaching full-time in 2001. And the first thing I tell people is 100% of the truth 100% of the time, simply because this business has way too many moving parts, and there's way too many people that you can't possibly remember a half-truth or a lie enough times to not get caught. And the fastest way to ruin your reputation is to get caught in a lie. So the reality of it is, if you live by the model 100% of the truth 100% of the time, and you use the technique of under-promising and over-delivering, you should avoid any kind of challenges and any kind of issues. So with that in mind, we're going to start out with the first piece of the puzzle, which is the referral triangle. This is the first thing that I share with you as the building blocks to understanding the mechanics of how you build a model that you can follow that will constantly keep you in new referrals, constantly keep you in new clients, and begin the process of having people come to you. Now, that's the basis of what we do, because there's only 3 areas where business comes from. Business comes from either realtors or builders, other professionals, or your database and consumer direct marketing efforts. That's all there is. No matter what you do, you can break it down into one of 3 of these categories. So we talk about this and understand that just like the triangle, we want to start out your career, or we want to start out this path in the term balance. And when I talk about balance is striving that your goal should be that the same amount of business comes from realtor builders as does other professionals, as does your consumer direct marketing and your database. the idea is if you're looking to do 6 to 10 loans a month, if you're going to be a 6 loan a month producer, then you should be generating your transactions 2 apiece from each side of the triangle to keep it in balance. And we've talked about this a little bit, and it will change over time. But at the very inception of a process, you need to know where the beginning is. And the beginning, for all purposes, is knowing where the different pieces of the puzzle lie and what your expectation needs to be. Now, some of you are already in the business, and you may have triangles that are 90% realtor referral and 10% your database, and you don't get any business from anybody else. Well, the good news is that tells you where your new business will come from. At that point, trying to market to more realtors will not be as productive as working toward other professionals or building your database or entertaining some sort of consumer direct marketing effort. New business will come much more quickly to you in the weaker sides, because without deriving some business from those other sides of the triangle, you become less attractive as a referral partner, because if all you do is get business from realtors and you never generate any business from other professionals in your database, you're limited to the number of people that you can refer back to your realtors. If you're getting just as much business from other sides of the triangle, and again, we go back to the model and just say 2, you'd be generating opportunities from other professionals as well as your database, and you'd be having 4 referrals that you'd be able to send out to your realtors, or 4 opportunities for your realtors to be able to use. So imagine that. If the whole group of realtors that are sending you business right now are sending you 2 units a month, and you have the ability to send back 4, who is more valuable in the equation? And the answer is quite simple. You are. And when you're the most valuable piece of any equation, then you get put smack dab in the middle of the triangle, which is the center of all the referrals. So now, realtors and builders, let's take our partners one at a time. Realtors and builders, well, they once controlled about 90% of all the purchase loan activity that was out there. Now it's down to about 30%. Think about that. 30% of the business is controlled by realtor and builders. Now, the good news is realtors generally, as a single component, as a single enterprise, are the #1 referral source still as an individual source of business. Unfortunately, there are so many realtors, and so few of them do enough business that you can pay attention to all of them, that it becomes quite painful if you're going to try to make all your business out of only 30% of the market. So understand that while they're still the biggest piece as a single entity, they're only 1/3 of what is possible. Now, your other professionals group, I kind of break up into 2 areas. The ones that you usually think are first: insurance professionals, accountants, financial planners, and attorneys. And you'll notice I broke attorneys up into a few different fields just so that you can understand you may or may not want to deal with a bankruptcy attorney or a divorce attorney or a criminal attorney. But you may decide that an estate planning attorney or a tax attorney, or a corporate attorney, that may be an area of business. I just wanted to share with you, all attorneys are not the same. They specialize, some of them, in different aspects of the law. They have different focus. Each one of these areas is certainly viable and valuable for you to know. The point is, you have to be in a position to understand that they're out there. You don't need an attorney from each area of the business. You just have to understand that if you want to have 1 or 2 attorneys in your life, you may decide that a divorce attorney and a tax attorney are the 2 people that you'd want to do business with. So understand that this group right here, are generally the traditional ones that people think about. The group that people generally don't think about, but is often the most valuable when it comes to other professionals, are your merchants and service providers, nonprofit groups and organizations, educational opportunities, contractors, not builders, other banks and lenders like credit unions and such, and military bases, or if subset of military bases, things like the VFW Hall or Veterans Hospitals. Now, these are areas that you can get involved in, and again, you don't need to focus on all of them, but you do need to focus on some of them and come up with a strategy. I would strongly suggest that each of you have at least one insurance professional, one accountant, one financial planner, and at least one attorney in one of these fields of endeavor. I don't really care which one it is. If you're comfortable in one better than the other, then that's the one I would pick. But the point is you should have at least one professional in each one of those areas. In group 2, you should always have something going on with a merchant or a service provider where you're focused on their particular area of need a minimum of once a month. We've talked about this a little bit before. I call it the Merchant of the Month Club. It all comes back down to the value-added proposition, changing how we approach people and telling them what we do and how we do it so that they become more open to the possibility that the relationship is important. Why? Because these are people who can act as bird dogs for you. They can go out and flush opportunities out of the brush. They can find things. They can hear things. Anytime you have more people, more sets of eyes and ears out in the area, the more it's likely that you're going to come across an opportunity. And so when we look at this, we say, how does our group look? Well, we have realtor builders on one side. We have our other professionals on the other side of the triangle. So my goal here for you is make sure either I have or I need one insurance, one accountant, one financial, and one attorney. I either have or I need any number of 12 merchants, product, or service providers. Now, the nonprofit groups, the educational opportunities, contractors, other lenders, and military opportunities, again, may or may not be things that you choose to do. You may or may not want to work with a nonprofit organization. You may or may not want to pursue educational opportunities like conducting first-time homebuyer classes at your local library or your local school, or doing educational opportunities for continuing ed, getting certified in your state to be a continuing ed provider for the very realtors that you're trying to pull business from. You may or may not want to work with contractors generally who are going to do renovations or repairs that would be in excess of $20,000, where it may be possible and practical for the people to refinance their house and pull out some equity to pay the bill than it would be to go through other sources of funding. Other banks are absolutely a key place. There are some banks and some credit unions, they don't offer the spectrum of opportunities that you do. They don't have the ability to close certain loans that you can close. So going and knowing those people and asking, hey, what do you do with these types of loans that you can't close? When you have somebody that comes in and needs a VA loan and you don't do VA loans, where does that opportunity go to? I have a number of professionals who have those relationships, and they're very profitable. The banks love being able to control that business because you're not a threat to them. As a mortgage lender, you don't offer checking and savings accounts or auto loans or any of the other things that business that they want. So they can solve their client's challenge without fear of losing that customer. Your database and your consumer direct marketing. Now, I have this last, but it's certainly not least. The point of this is your database is the thing that you should be building constantly and every day. Building your database and keeping your clients nourished with information has a tremendous value. understand that generating a lead opportunity or a loan opportunity from your database is 5 to 10 times less expensive than it is to generate, both in time and in money and assets. It's 5 to 10 times less expensive than it is to generate a brand new client on your own. And understand, for as little as $6 a year and a little bit of effort, you can keep and maintain that relationship. Well, what am I saying for $6 a year? What if you just sent them a note, a value-added proposition, once a month? Put something in the mail to them of value, promoting one of your other professionals or something completely different. You know, most of your communication with your database should have nothing to do with the mortgage business. Because really, how many times a year do you want to hear that rates are at an all-time low? Trust me, if you've done your job, they know you're in the mortgage business. They know you do purchase loans and refinance. When you keep in touch with them with a value-added proposition on a monthly basis, you get to reburn those brain cells. That client feels a sense of value in the relationship. They move you up in their mind, and the more that it happens and the more benefit you are to that client, the more they keep their ear out, whether consciously or subconsciously, for an opportunity for you. Because if you don't understand what a great tool your database is, you need to understand that today, and you need to start working it today, because at the end of your business career, the easiest place to get your business from has always been your database, people you know and have thought of you as a value provider. And when you end your career, think about it. What do you get to sell? So the triangle calls us and says, find balance. We should be trying equally hard to get business from all sides of the triangle. We need to be tracking our calls and making sure that we know why people have called us. Now that process is called quantification. You're going to hear me use that word, quantify or quantifying, quite frequently, because you need to know where your business is coming from. You need to know who is sending you business. Because by tracking, you can see what sides of the triangle need attention. Again, if you're getting most of your business from realtor builders and none of it from other professionals, you know you have to do a better job communicating with other professionals. Not to diminish the amount of time that you're spending with your realtor builders, but to grow the side. You also need to be in a position so that you can refer your clients to the others within the triangle. It becomes a community. You become the person distributing, the head of distribution of this very valuable referral network. And how do we do this? Well, we use a principle that I call collecting 9s and 10s. Now, 9s and 10s are people that provide exceptional service. So what does that mean? It means if you come across somebody and you ask them the question on a scale of 0 to 10, 0 meaning you don't have anybody in that area, 10 meaning not only do you have somebody in that area, but they are truly exceptional. That's the measuring point. Imagine if you made it a point of your life to ask people, because you can collect personal information. People will tell you. Anytime you speak to somebody, and I don't care whether you have a relationship with them or not, they are a source of opportunity. I know you're already going out there and you're already collecting personal information. You're already working when somebody calls you to know how they came to contact you. But you can't leave it there. You need to learn how to collect their 9s and 10s, because their 9s and 10s are going to be the building blocks of your value. So how do we gather this? Well, it's pretty simple. Again, we're going to ask the question. On a scale of 0 to 10, with 0 meaning you've never used anyone in this area, and 10 being truly exceptional, how do you feel about your current or your last realtor? How do you feel about your current or your last financial planner, your accountant, your insurance professional, your last attorney? And almost as importantly, or more important than others is, in the last 6 months, have you had an exceptional experience with a product or a service provider in your area? That question, these questions do what? They help you populate your opportunities. If you're not getting enough business from realtors, you're going to find good realtors. If you don't have a financial planner, you're going to find a financial planner that somebody else thinks is really outstanding. Same thing with the accountant, insurance, or the attorneys. You're also going to find product and service providers that are considered exceptional by the people that have used them. Why is this important? Well, if you're out there and you already know that somebody else thinks these people are exceptional in their area of need, you can pretty much be certain that they're not terrible, that this is a person that's not going to waste your time. And oh, by the way, how easy is it to get in front of these people? Because here are the basics. We're not trying to get thousands of referral partners. What we're trying to get is quality over quantity. So when people ask me, hey, Mike, what do you do? Well, I think you should have 3 to 5 quality realtor relationships. Now, and we've talked about this before, but I'll remind you again, 3 to 5 what I call A caliber realtors. Remember we talked about A, B, and C referral partners. A people are the people that refer you unconditionally. They give you everything. They do for you whatever it is that you ask them to do. We're trying to find 3 to 5 of those people. You may not have any A's, in which case you'll need B's and C's in that group. And we've talked about that before, and we'll talk about it again down the road. But I'm suggesting 3 to 5 quality realtor relationships. It would be great if you had 2 to 3 quality builder contacts if your marketplace is open to new home construction. There are a lot of places in the country that are not. Depending on your particular marketplace and depending on your area, there may or may not be a larger amount of new home construction being done. Obviously, if the percentage of new home construction is higher in your market, then maintaining 2 to 3 builder relationships is probably pretty simple. If it's a big enough builder, 1 will be more than enough. I also suggest, again, 1 quality professional in each area, 1 financial planner, 1 accountant, 1 insurance professional. You don't need dozens of those people, just 1. And as far as product and service providers, we've talked about it before and we'll talk about it again. Find 12. 1 profile once a month. 1. If you've got nothing to send your people, imagine if you were marketing to your people, and again, if you can't afford sending them a piece of mail every month because it's too much money right now, then do it electronically until you can generate enough loans, 5, 7, 10 a month, so that you can afford to make the investment. Why? $6 a year to mail 1 piece of mail to your client every month is very inexpensive, considering the opportunities that that person has to refer you business or to use your referral partners or both. By providing a value-added proposition every month, again, it gives you something to do to promote the other people in your life. And what happens there is you're referring them. Those people show up at their business, or those people call them on the phone to engage in an estimate, and they know they'll start with the words, Mike White from such and such mortgage company asked me to give you, told me that you were the greatest plumber that they've ever met. You were the best dry cleaner. You are the best tile setter. Whatever it is, I will tell you, knowing who the good people are makes you very valuable. So what do we do to get started? Well, you need to schedule a time with yourself every week to work on this project. You're more likely to get it done if you do so. What day of the week? We've talked about this. Okay, we're going to look at the referral triangle, and we're going to see what we already have, and we're going to see what we need, what's missing. And what you're going to come up with is a written document or agreement on how this partnership is going to work. In other words, if I find myself a dry cleaner and ABC Dry Cleaner says, I'm going to give you this coupon and we're going to take 25% off any bill their first time in here, or we'll clean everything that they can bring in, in their arms. If they can get it in their arms and get it through the door, I'll clean everything that they can bring through the door for $20. Whatever the value is that referral partner wants to give you, you need to have it written down so that you're clear and they're clear as to what the arrangement is. You may want to leave your business cards on their card display at their store. You may want to give them a plaque or a certificate that you frame that they can hang on the wall that they are your particular merchant of the month for the month of whatever. There are a lot of different takes on this situation. Sometimes it's just as simple as, hey, if somebody mentions the word mortgage, hand them one of my cards. But understand that documentation beats conversation every time. Just like you need documentation on your loan files, you need to document what it is that you say you're going to do. Again, if it's not written down, it doesn't exist. If it's not scheduled, it won't happen. And if you don't quantify the result, in other words, if you're not seeing that the efforts that you're doing are leading to positive results, then you either need to modify or change whatever it is that you're doing, because it becomes imperative that you spend your time on things that increase the number of opportunities that you get in front of on a daily basis. It absolutely has to happen. So where to begin as you start to fill these out? Well, like I said before, what day of the week are we doing what task? What are we doing if we're working on other professionals' day and we say we're going to do other professionals between 1 and 3 in the afternoon on Wednesday? Well, that's certainly a start. And then what do you do in that process? Well, how about follow your money to get started? Where do you spend your money? Who are the people you already have in your life? Who are your insurance agent? Who's your accountant? Who's your financial planner if you have one? Who are they? Are they people that you would recommend to other people? Are they really 9s and 10s? Here's the irony. What if they're not? Imagine if you're using somebody to handle your business who you don't think is a 9 or a 10. Wouldn't it be great to have one? So keep track of every dollar you're going to spend and who you give it to. Be sure that you ask the names of the people that you're working with. I don't care if it's a coffee shop. You should know the name of the person who's making your coffee. You should know the name of the person behind the counter that you're working with. And you should share your name with them so that they know. And then understand every time you do this, every time you start a new relationship, think of 3 people that you can share that information with. Just 3. If you can talk to 3 people about whatever it is, trying to get them to use a coupon or an offer or take advantage of something somebody's willing to do, some sort of a discount. At this time of the year, accountants are really starting to heat up. Imagine if you had your accountant that you thought was really great, and when that accountant sends out their information to their database, and they say, here are the things that we're going to need you to put together for your tax return, and oh, by the way, call Mike White over at this mortgage company and get your complimentary annual mortgage fitness checkup and identity theft screening. That way you'll make sure that the mortgage you have right now is working for you as good as it could. And if there's anything that's not perfect with your credit, they can look at it, review at it, and help you. Imagine if that was going out with your accountant as they were sending out their packages. How many of those people that accountant has who's getting ready to put their stuff together might call you for that? And if you were doing that free consultation, how many of those people may want to buy a new house? How many of those people need to refinance? Again, understand what it is you're trying to do. You're trying to get in front of opportunities. Without getting in front of opportunities, you're on a slippery slope of trying to find a deal every day on your own. Without help, that becomes very painful. It's very difficult to find 5 or 10 people every week that'll let you pull credit. You need to get some help. It's also very difficult to talk to these people on a regular basis if all you do is talk about the mortgage business. Your database and your consumer direct marketing, well, this is the lifeblood of any successful mortgage practice. A properly maintained database can provide 60 to 80% of your total business. Think of that. So as we saw on the referral triangle, if you're new to the business and you're generating 6 loans a month, getting 2 from realtor builders and 2 from other professionals and 2 from your database now, and you maintain your database and you communicate with your database and you're providing value to that database on an ongoing basis, that database will grow. And what if that database does grow to be 60 or 80% of your total business? You still get 2 referrals from your realtor every month. You'll still get 2 referrals from your other professionals every month, but you might be getting 8 or 10 or 12 referrals from your database every month. That's where the value lies. Building that database, building people who know you, communicating them, providing value. And the value comes to you absolutely free. Other professionals advertise, they pay money to advertise their business all the time. You're going to give them something for free. You're going to give them access to your database, not by giving them the names and addresses and phone numbers and email addresses of your people, but by providing the value that they want to give you to those people directly. That's where it comes from. So what information should be captured when I talk to these people? And understand, it doesn't have to be a high-tech system. You don't have to have a fancy computerized system to save all this information. What you really need to collect are names, addresses, phone numbers, the transaction history, and any notes that you may have on there. Now, when I talk about name and names and addresses, when I talk about address, clearly I want their home address and I want their email address. They're almost synonymous now. In fact, sometimes the email addresses are more valuable than the home addresses. If you did nothing more than at least create a client card, now a lot of you have systems, your own loan operating software allows you to do this, allows you to collect this information and make notes right in an electronic file. But collect the information because it's very important. I just did a search with a company that I do a lot of work for, and they thought they were doing a really good job. They had a really great year refinancing the people that they had done loans for in the past. And we did a quick search, and we found over 650 loans that was right in their database that had interest rates of over 4%. You imagine? They thought they were doing a great job. They thought they had it all under control. Now, I'm not saying all those people would refi, but I'm guessing a large enough percentage of them would. And what would happen if 100 or 200 or 300 of those people decided to take loan? What would your life look like if you had a database and if you were able to sort it quickly so that when the opportunity was present, you could take advantage of it? That's the power of keeping track. In addition to the monthly value, I stress to people anniversary calls. Now, this can be on the anniversary of their loan closing, or it can be whatever month you decide their anniversary is going to be. Who cares? Because after a while, they don't remember. You can bring people into this that you've never done a loan for. But the annual mortgage fitness checkup and identity theft screening is a very powerful tool. It's what mortgage people use on a daily basis to get information from your clients. Is that mortgage that they are currently paying, is it working for them as best it could? Is it doing what it needs to do? The only way you can tell that is to look at their situation. What are they paying now? What are their options? Well, the way to find out their options is to pull a credit report. And since you already, every time you pull credit, since you already go through it with a fine-tooth comb, you can understand everything in there that may be something that they want to identify as something that they can improve, or maybe something that's in that credit report that isn't theirs. You know, statistically, about 70% of all the people have something on their credit report that's inaccurate. Can you imagine how helpful it is to go through someone's credit report and find accounts? And, hey, what about this account? And they say, well, I don't have that account. Well, yeah, you do. Or accounts that they thought that were closed that are currently listed as open. There are still companies out there that have credit cards for people that the people never really close the account. They just don't use the card anymore. And what if they lost their wallet and their identification and somebody found it and walked into that store and opened up that card again and charged a whole bunch of stuff? It may be a while before they ever found out that it happened, if ever. So the point is you have a job to make sure that their loan, whatever mortgage that they have, is performing for them as best as their circumstances allow, whether it be the rate, the payment, the term. The other part is if their credit score is not above 740, you really need to go over it with them and show them the things that they can do to improve it. Sometimes it's as simple as just reducing balances. Sometimes it's as simple not to run the balances so high. I once had a client that we improved his credit score enough for him to qualify for a loan, believe it or not, just by going to his credit card companies and having them raise his credit lines. There's a lot of things you can do. I'm sure you know plenty of them. And then you can rapid rescore these people to get them to qualify. But most importantly, when you go through this anniversary call, after you've provided that service for them, you can ask for their 9s and 10s. Again, it's really important that you understand that collecting these 9s and 10s opens the door to warm conversations. You're not cold calling anybody. It's much easier to get a hold of somebody when you're calling in and you say, so-and-so recommended that I call you. It's an amazing door opener when they hear those words. So making calls. Well, you're going to have a plan. Like everything else, it should be written down. And your plan should look something like this. What's the purpose of this call? Well, the purpose of the call is to speak directly to the person that you're calling and introduce yourself and complete a quick survey. Well, how much time should it take? I don't know, 30 seconds to 3 minutes. If you stick to that schedule, you can collect 9s and 10s at the rate of between 20 and 75 calls an hour. Remember, most of the time you're going to make a call, people aren't going to be home. What should you say? Very simply, get right to the point. As a mortgage professional, my clients ask me for referrals all the time. Do you know exceptional people I can refer? Very simple, very straightforward. Building a database of 9s and 10s of people that you're happy to refer and of people who will then become happy to refer you, absolutely essential to making loans show up in your doorway on a regular basis. But you have to have a plan. One of the things with loan officers that drive me crazy is the fact that they get engaged in phone calls and they don't have a plan. Whether it be calling for 9s and 10s or whether it be calling to do anything else in the process, is they don't limit the call. They don't start the call off by saying, hey, Joe Smith, Mike White here. I only have a minute. I needed to ask you a question about this. Well, now you've explained to the person, here's the question, you only have a minute. It's not going to be a 20-minute conversation about, hey, how the basketball team did last night, or how the kids are, or all these other things. It's, I have a schedule. If you have a client and you're going to review something with them, hey, Mrs. Smith, Mike White here. I only wanted to take a couple of minutes of your time, and I wanted to go over the appraisal with you. Again, you set the expectation up front as to how much time you're expecting to spend with them. It makes it easier for them to understand what they're getting into when they talk to you, and it makes it easier for you to get out of the phone call at the end of it. Now, we've got some homework this week. And again, these are the beginning parts of this thing. And please, when you complete your homework, make sure that you're taking this information and you're starting to build your book of business with it. Getting this work done helps you get into the habit of having a system. And the homework leads you down the path of doing the things that you need to do. Now, it looks like a lot, but again, you'll realize there's not as much here as you think there is once you get started. So when you go into the website, you can print out the speaking notes, you can read through them, you can do the whole thing. Understand that we had the 10 questions right at the very beginning. Now, some of you already have those answers, so you can just fill in the blanks when it comes to your income and knowing all the numbers. Now, you have to go in here and understand. You have to list your referring realtors. And again, list the realtors that you have and list the number of referrals. Now, this says 2011. I have to update this PowerPoint, but let's take a look for the year. Who has sent you business last year? What was the number of referrals that they sent you? What are you expecting them to send you this year? List the other professionals that you have. If you don't have any, then you put down 0, and 0 for the number of referrals. And then we know we have to look for one of each. And imagine if we looked for one of each. And based upon the number you were looking for, 5 other professionals and 12 product and service providers, that would give us 17. If we got 1 referral a year from each one of those people, what would you do with 17 loans? Think to yourself quickly, how much is the commission on your average loan? What does 17 times that equal? How does that help? When you create that list of how many partners you need in each area, then you're going to create a target list of who's missing. If I don't have 12 merchants, product and service providers, I'm going to have to go find some. How am I going to find them? I'm going to follow my money. We're going to start asking. You have to set up for yourself, what type of database system are you going to use? What kind of database do you want? Again, can be as simple as writing it down on index cards and saving them. Could be as simple as using your current LOS software. Could be an entirely different program. It doesn't matter to me how you do it. It matters that you do it. And then how many contacts do you have? How many people currently that you can put into your database that you would say database people? And clearly, what's your goal for a number that you need? Now think about this and say, I don't know how many you think you need. I like to say 3,000. You say, oh my God, 3,000, that sounds like a lot. And I say, well, it does sound like a lot. But if you talk to 10 people a day, it would take you less than 14 months to come up with 3,000 people. If you're going to be in the business 14 months from now, wouldn't it make sense to be in business with 3,000 people in your database? Just asking. So what are your goals for the numbers that you need? How many contacts do you plan on making? When you have people in your database, what am I going to do? Well, I told you. You should at least make one personal contact every year for the annual mortgage fitness checkup and identity theft screening. You should send one value-added piece of information to them once a month. At the very minimum, you should have 13 contacts, whether 12 are electronic via email and one is done over the phone. At least it's something. You have to have a plan. Down the road, I would like to see that you would have one mail contact a month, one annual mortgage fitness checkup and identity theft screening, and maybe adopting one holiday other than Christmas and New Year's, whether it be Valentine's Day, St. Patrick's Day, Memorial Day, 4th of July, Halloween, Labor Day, who cares? But you should plan on adopting a holiday and engaging your people in a fun way to show your appreciation to them. Because then that holiday will start to become synonymous with, hey, could you imagine my mortgage guy was celebrating St. Patrick's Day? Or they're having this big Halloween party down at the farm. We're going to go pick pumpkins, and my mortgage guy has a thing going on. The other thing that you need to pay attention to, and I slipped this in here, is the fact that people don't have a really good contact follow-up protocol. What do I mean by that is when you call somebody or somebody calls you, you have nothing set in stone as to how you follow up with them. And I put that in here because I think it's a fairly basic, thing that says, what is my protocol? Do I have something where I know that if I call somebody today and I don't reach them, do I never call them back? If I'm going to have to follow up that phone call, do I call them again tomorrow? Do I call them again the third? What do I do? Now, traditionally, the first thing I have everybody do in place is what I call the 3-3-3 system. And what does that mean? It means quite simply 3 times in 3 days, once a week for 3 weeks, and then once a month for 3 months. If you get a referral to you, you should be calling that person 3 times in 3 days. And if you don't hear back from them, you should call the referral partner and say, hey, thanks for the referral. I tried to reach Mr. Smith. I called him 3 times in the last 3 days. I haven't reached him. How would you like me to proceed? And that way you can get them engaged, or at least they know that you've tried. They may tell you to keep trying. But the point is if you don't have a written protocol, if it's very casual and you don't, well, sometimes I follow up, no. It needs to be the same. If you're going to follow up, then you follow up. Whether you think if you don't think they're worth following up with, then delete the contact and get rid of it. I want you to create a contact calendar for the balance of 2013. This is already January, so there's not a lot you're going to do for Merchant of the Month right now. But each one of you could go out there and find somebody for February. February is Valentine's Day. If you could find a florist that would give you a coupon for a dozen long stem roses at a reasonable price, that might be something you could send out. If you could find a candy store that would give you a box of chocolates at a reasonable price, that would be something that you might be able to do. If you have some sort of a restaurant in there that will do a special 2-for-1 Valentine's dinner, that would be something that you could do. Again, a little bit of thought goes a long way, but if you do not schedule the work to get done, it won't happen. And last but not least, you guys have to start making and collecting 9s and 10s every day, minimum of 5. If you're not going through the effort of trying to collect 9s and 10s, how are you ever going to build this database? How are you ever going to build a list of people that you have to follow up with and get in front of? A lot of these exercises are here to get you to start doing things that you're not customarily doing. Because fundamentally, let's be honest, you're not doing more business because you're not talking to enough people. If you were speaking to more people, you'd be doing more business. And a lot of these things are designed to not only help you get out there and engage in a meaningful way, in a way that you're comfortable, but they're designed to get you to think in ways that you're not currently thinking so that you're not missing the opportunities that are currently in front of you. And remember, if you need help, you just have to ask. The email is michael@ImproveMyTomorrowCoaching.com. It's the only one you should use if you want to contact us. If you have others, that's fine, but please do not send your homework there and do not send your questions there because they won't get to me in enough time for us to be able to resolve your issue quickly. This is an email that you can use that's monitored every day, that I will get that email within the course of the day and respond to you that day or early the next morning, depending on when you send it in. But the point of the matter is, we need to go forward together. These tools will help you. If you have any challenge doing this work, I need you to understand, okay, that we can help you get there. It's not that complicated. It looks like a lot of moving parts because it is. But just like a Swiss watch, when you know how to put them all together, it works really, really well. So thank you for your time this week. I appreciate it. Do just as good a job this week as you did last week. And for those of you who need help, email me, and I'll be happy to walk you through whatever challenges you may have. Have yourselves a great week.